get this. We're diving into a story. Well, it's fascinating and chilling, both, really. It's about, well, a discovery in an Irish peat bog.
Right.
And it's not your typical, archaeological thing you hear about.
Right, yeah. What they thought was like an open and shut case,
Yep.
it quickly turned into a real mystery, like a 2,000-year-old mystery.
Exactly. And so the source material we've got today, it's this super interesting article from Live Science called Decapitated Woman Found in Irish Bog is 2,000-Year-Old Ritual Sacrifice.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're going to break down, the whole story of this, the Ballymacombs More Woman.
Okay.
We'll try and figure out why this is such a big deal, what it tells us about, life and death, really, back in Iron Age Ireland.
It's a long journey. It all takes us back to October 2023.
Okay.
When the police, they were called out to a peat bog in Northern Ireland.
Oh, wow.
They had found human remains.
Oh, geez.
And at first they thought it was just some, teenage boy, maybe like 13 to 17 years old.
So pretty standard bog body find, right?
Yeah, you'd think so. But then things got, a little weird. Museums got involved, universities, the whole thing. And, they did this analysis really in depth. And it turned out to be a way more complex story. So they did that, radiocarbon dating.
Right.
Where they measure, the radioactive carbon decay to figure out how old stuff is.
Yeah, yeah.
And it put her somewhere between 343 to 1 BC. So definitely Iron Age Ireland.
Okay, I'm hooked already.
Yeah.
So what they actually find out about her, about this person?
Okay, so it wasn't a teenage boy. That was the first thing.
Oh, wow.
It was a young woman, somewhere between 17 and 22 years old.
Really?
And get this, she was 5 feet 6 inches tall.
Wow. That's pretty tall. I mean, even now, especially back then.
Definitely, for a woman, especially from that time.
Wow. So, I mean, they were way off in the beginning.
Yeah, totally. And it gets even more, interesting. They found these cut marks on her neck vertebrae.
Oh.
So she was decapitated.
Wow.
And they found bits of fabric, too, with the body.
Oh,
So it seems like, it wasn't an accident. It was on purpose. Maybe violent, even?
Yeah, this is where it starts to get, kind of creepy. It's a young woman.
Yeah.
Taller than average and, met a pretty awful end. So, what happened? Was she just, in the wrong place at the wrong time? Or is there, more to this?
Well, that's where this theory comes in about, ritual sacrifice.
Okay.
And that's when the story of the Ballymacombs More Woman gets really, really interesting.
All right, so let's go there, because I'm guessing this isn't just any any old sacrifice, or there's got to be something more to it.
Yeah, you're right. Finding the Ballymacombs More Woman, it's a big deal because, most bog bodies they find from this time in the British Isles, they're men. So why was she there?
Yeah.
It's a good question.
So just by finding her, we're kind of changing how we think about, Iron Age society, right?
Yeah.
This can't just be a coincidence.
I don't think so.
So what are the main theories out there about why they find more, male bog bodies?
But some researchers think that, men back then, they were probably more likely to be in wars and stuff, or they had certain, roles in society that maybe made them more likely to end up as sacrifices.
Oh, okay.
It's like what we find from back then. It might not be the whole story.
It really makes you think about, how we interpret the past. Maybe we're missing something. But going back to the Ballymacombs More Woman, why would she be sacrificed? What are the theories? Okay, so we're already talking about ritual sacrifice, and I know the article mentions some connection to, sovereignty and kinship rituals. Can you talk about that a bit more?
Yeah, for sure. So research from the National Museum of Ireland, they say that sacrifices like this, they weren't just random violence. It was all tied in with rituals about kingship and how their society was set up.
So it wasn't just about, making the gods happy. It was about power, too, and social order.
Yeah, exactly. There's this guy, Ned Kelly. He used to be the keeper of antiquities at the National Museum of Ireland.
Okay.
And he's done a ton of research on these Iron Age bog bodies. And he has some pretty chilling things to say about it. He thinks these killings, especially the really brutal ones like decapitation, they were probably ordered by kings, especially when things were tough.
Yeah.
Or uncertain.
That's That's kind of wild. It's
Yeah.
kind of scary to think about that. The pressure they must have felt, Like, if you think the fate of everyone, like your whole kingdom, depends on you, on you keeping the gods happy, what kind of anxieties were they dealing with?
It's crazy, right? And the fact that they, often made these sacrifices to gods that were connected to the land, it adds another whole layer to the story. Like in Celtic mythology, the land was like super important spiritually. It was a source of, life and fertility and prosperity.
Right, right. So sacrificing someone to, the goddess of the land, it was like a way to ensure a good harvest or, guarantee that the land would keep providing.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to look at it. It's like they were, trading a life in
Right.
exchange for, keeping the gods happy,
Yeah.
to keep things balanced in a world that, must have felt pretty chaotic and unpredictable.
Yeah, it's a totally different way of seeing the world, isn't it, than how we see things now, or the supernatural and the natural were like all mixed up, and human life was, the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah, it's very different from, our modern view.
Yeah.
But for them, back in Iron Age Ireland, this was real. This is what they believed. And it shaped everything they did. And this is where the missing piece comes in.
You mean the fact that they never found her head, the Ballymacombs More Woman's head? Yeah, I've been wondering about that. Does that tell us anything, or is it just like a frustrating loose end?
It's definitely more than just a missing piece. The fact that it's, gone, it raises all these questions.
Yeah.
Like what happened to it? Was it, taken as like a trophy to show off power?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it like disposed of somewhere else?
Yeah.
As part of, some specific ritual? We might never know for sure, but it makes you think, right?
It's like a detective story, trying to put the clues together and figure out what really happened. Except, this mystery is like over 2,000 years old.
And that's what makes archaeology so cool, right?
Yeah.
You were always finding these new pieces, and each one could like change history or how we understand the past.
And talking about discoveries, they mentioned that they're still doing the DNA analysis, right, on her. What are they hoping to learn from that?
Well, that's the exciting part. The DNA, it could tell us so much more about her. About, her ancestors, her diet, her health, even maybe like what her social status was in her community.
Wow. So we could find out about her family, what she ate, if she was sick, all that just from her DNA. That's incredible.
Yeah, it really shows how far we've come with science and analyzing these ancient remains. It's like looking through a window into the past, a way to connect with someone who lived thousands of years ago. But, we have to be careful.
Careful. What do you mean?
Well, it's easy to, get caught up in the excitement and start to like project our own ideas onto the past.
Yeah.
We have to remember that we're only working with part of the story, and we could be wrong about, what the evidence means.
That's a good point. So how do we balance that, that excitement with being, scientifically accurate and interpreting things carefully?
It's a challenge for archaeologists, for researchers. Always we have to, embrace the things we don't know, admit that we don't know everything, and be willing to, change our minds when we find new evidence.
So even with all the science and stuff, there's still a lot of like mystery and interpretation when we're trying to understand the past. It's not just like facts and data. It's about like putting a story together, making educated guesses, and knowing that we might never have all the answers.
That's it, exactly. And that's part of what makes it so interesting. We're always learning and changing our minds and getting a better understanding of the past. It's a journey of discovery that never really ends.
It's amazing to think that something like this, found in a bog in, Ireland today, can take us back to a time so different from ours.
It's like a reminder that the past isn't, just some abstract idea. It's real, and we can connect with it through these amazing discoveries.
We've talked about the discovery and, all that analysis they did to figure out who the Ballymacombs More Woman really was, and the DNA research, that's still going on. But I keep thinking about this whole ritual sacrifice thing. It's such a powerful idea, it makes you think.
Yeah, it really does. It forces us to confront, what people believed back then, their fears.
Yeah.
In a world so different from ours.
Yeah, it's easy to just think of it as, barbaric or primitive.
Yeah.
But we have to try to understand, their mindset. Why would they do this? What was the point of a sacrifice like this?
Well, imagine, living in a time when nature was unpredictable, dangerous even. When a good harvest, it wasn't just about having a lot of food, it was about survival.
Right, so offering a sacrifice, even a human one, it was a way to make sure the gods were on their side, to protect the community.
Exactly. He was trying to control, well, the things they couldn't control, to bring order to the chaos.
And the fact that she, the Ballymacombs More Woman, was maybe offered to a goddess, a Celtic goddess of the land. It adds another layer to it all, doesn't it?
It does. It suggests that these rituals, they were all tied in with how they understood nature and their place in it. They were trying to find a balance with the forces that control their lives.
It's fascinating how this one discovery, it opens up all these questions, about their religion, their society, even about how we relate to nature.
And that's what makes this whole deep dive so interesting. We've just started to understand what we can learn from the Ballymacombs More Woman.
So as we wrap up here, I want to, bring it back to our listener. Why should they care about this? About a 2,000-year-old bog body in Ireland? What can we learn from this?
Well, I think it reminds us that the past, it's not really gone. It's still here, all around us, waiting to be discovered. And when we engage with these stories, we're not just learning about history. We're learning about ourselves. We're exploring what it means to be human, the things that connect us across time, across cultures.
We started with a pretty captivating discovery, and now we have even more questions than answers. But that's what's so great about exploring, right? It's about the mystery, letting it make us curious.
So as you go about your day, think about this. What other secrets are out there, just waiting to be found? What can we learn from the past that can help us now, that can help us shape the future?
It's a good question to think about. It reminds us that, well, the journey of discovery, it never really ends. So keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.